This time on Ask Rad Rat, we're talking about what you should do if you turn pro and how you should handle it, and a bunch of other questions about skateboarding. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Rad Rat Video, a channel where you can learn new things about skateboarding. I talk about all different kinds of skateboarding topics on this channel, and I answer your questions on this series, Ask Rad Rat. Got a few of them for you today. The first question is from the king of a word I don't want to say. He says, I've just started skating. Should I start with tricks with no ollies or just focus on learning ollies? I started with front side bonelesses and Burt slides. Are these good to start with? I think those are fine. But what I want you to think about is not categorizing yourself too quickly. Don't think of yourself yet as being the old school only skater. Maybe you'll find that that's the stuff you love doing and that's all you want to do, and that's fine. But don't box yourself in yet. Okay, so what I want you to do, you can stick with those types of tricks, but also learn how to ollie, learn pop shoves and kick flips, learn how to ollie off of a curb or something like that. Learn a couple of grinds, learn some freestyle tricks, learn how to drop in on a ramp, learn how to bomb a hill, learn a little bit of everything. And that way, if you decide you want to focus on old school stuff, you'll be coming at it from a place of knowing why you like it. You've actually done it all and you've decided that's what you like most. If that's what you decide to do, great, go for it. I think one of the biggest pitfalls you might come into going about it the way you are is you'll find that you're just doing stuff the way that you know how to. You know, like if you were to put together a line and you are going to do a trick, you're going to do like a Burt slide on a bank, you're going to come up and boneless down a couple of stairs or something like that, and there's a curb in the middle, but you never learned how to ollie. What are you going to do? You're going to have to come up with some weird way where you hop off your board and grab it and run and jump back on it or something like that. You know, it's better to know how to do a bunch of different stuff so that you can decide what you want better. Not based on what you have done so far, but based on what you know is possible, right? So do a little bit of everything before you settle into a very specific thing like that. Next question is from Charles, who says, hey there, what are your thoughts on special effects in skate videos? Example, Marc Johnson's body twist thing in Fully Flared. Do you think there will be more of this in the future? So yeah, if you haven't seen that part, he does a nollie 360 heel flip to manual, and then he lands and his body rotates again. And I always thought that was kind of funny because they don't call it out. It doesn't like zoom in on it and show it to you. It just kind of happens, and if you didn't catch it, you didn't catch it. I thought that was kind of cool. And I do like special effects in skate videos, but they have to be unrelated to the trick. Meaning, like, there are some videos now where you see where they go in and they like draw over the person just for a couple frames and things like kind of flash, or they land on something. You see this on Instagram when they start to grind something, that thing turns colors as they're skating on it, or there's like sparks that are drawn in. Like, they're not meant to actually deceive you and think that that happened, you know? They're just extra graphics. I think that's really cool, and I like to see that stuff. It's definitely a cool look that you can do. But I was thinking about in old school videos, like in Ban This, by Powell Peralta back in the day, they would do stuff like have somebody roll up to something, you know, ollie onto it, and they get to the end of it, and then it cuts to a different camera angle, and you can tell that camera wasn't actually there from the other shot, you know, and then he lands it from a different angle. Well, he didn't actually land it, right? They just put it in there. There were lines in Questionable where somebody does a trick, and then they continue the line from a different camera angle. Again, you can tell the other camera wasn't there, so it's a fake line. That stuff, not great, because you're trying to make it look like you did something you didn't. That's a problem. If it's just cool effects and little, you know, fun Easter eggs, or you've like, you know, put your logo on a building in the background where it wasn't actually there, you know, something like that, fine. I think that's kind of cool. There is an example I was thinking of that I did where I actually did fake a trick, kind of, and it wasn't for anything. It didn't matter. I did a line. It was I don't remember which order the tricks were in. It was a 360 pressure flip, and then like a old school kick flip landing in a pivot. And so I did these tricks, and I did one where the 360 pressure flip was clean, but the pivot my toe touched. And that one looked better for both the tricks, but I had a different one where I landed the pivot a lot cleaner, but the 360 pressure flip was bad. So what I did was I took the sound effect of me landing in a clean pivot and put it over the one where my toe dragged, because that way you didn't hear my foot drag on the ground, and you might think that it didn't touch. Like, again, this was for nothing. I was just kind of messing around with it. I think I might have used that in like a video part on YouTube at the time. This was a long time ago. It was like 2006 or something like that. And yeah, so it was kind of faked, because there's things that you may have seen, like optical illusions, where they show someone making the sound D, like duh, 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 but they put in the clip of someone saying like the G sound instead. And because you saw, like, you're hearing with your eyes to a degree, so I'm thinking maybe if you hear it sound clean, then you'll convince yourself that you saw it clean too. But yeah, don't do that. Don't do stuff like that. Do stuff like this, where my friend hit a rock and I put in an explosion to make it look like he hit a landmine or something like that. That kind of stuff, go for it. I think that's kind of cool. Okay, the next question, he's got two. This is from Noah. His first one is Revive a real skate brand? Of course it is. They make skateboards, and they have a team of skateboarders who use them. They work just like normal skateboards. Why wouldn't they be a skate brand? I know there's a lot of people who are very stuck up on the fact of how skateboarding brands used to be. Like, you have to have these pros who can put out top level street parts, and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine, and that's great, and I enjoy watching the stuff that those brands put out. But doing stuff a different way and being more like social, as far as guys who are popular on Instagram versus pros who are just really, really good but don't have a following, that's just a brand strategy. They use a different brand strategy, and it's working very well. There's nothing wrong with that, and there's going to be more brands that go in that direction and are going in that direction in the future. It's weird when people get really caught up on the way something used to be, because there aren't any brands that run like Paul Peralta did in the 80s, like I was just talking about, where they had their fake clips and all that kind of stuff. It's not like when parts started to come out, like in old skate videos, they would basically just film you for that afternoon, and then it would be a part, and it wouldn't necessarily just be one person. It would be just a record of what happened at the bank that day and all the people who were there. And then when street video parts started to come out, people didn't say that was fake or that didn't count, because they did it over the course of a year or something like that, Like, doing something in a new way is not wrong. There's nothing wrong with the way they do their business, as far as I know anyway. His second question was, what's the most satisfying flip trick to look at? Like, is it tray flip, and why? Can this be measured? No, you can't measure which trick is the most visually satisfying. 360 flips are really great, though. They have such a nice balance to them. They do one spin and one flip, so it wraps around itself in the air, kind of. When you get a nice catch on it, it looks really nice. There's a good reason why that trick is so popular. It looks great. One of my favorites, though, is a backside flip where it kind of nosedives slightly. So a couple of them that come to mind. PJ Ladd does one. He does a he's in a 5-0. He does a switch frontside 180 into a 5-0, and then does a backside flip out. And because he's trying to like go the hard way, he's got to nosedive it. I just like how that looks, where the board kind of changes out direction. And there is a Marc Johnson does a tail stall backside flip out where it kind of does that too. I hope I can find it. I think I've talked about this clip before and looked for it and couldn't find it. But yeah, he does a back tail stall backside flip out, and it looks so nice to me. So that's mine. 360 flips and nose diving backside flips are some of my favorite visual tricks. But let's hear yours in the comments, I guess. All right. Next question is from Selim, who says, I was writing a comment on one of your videos and it got me thinking, how would you handle the life of a pro skater? Where would you start? How would you keep your career rolling? What would you do when the spotlight went out? Could you handle the riches if you made it to Tony Hawk Big? Would you make appearances in the media? Would you become a personality? So this is about me personally. This isn't like advice on what to do if you were pro, although I think that I'm probably going to try to handle things in a way that would be smart, right? So my first thing would be to build your own brand, which I know has nothing to do with skateboarding, but it's not enough to just be very good at skateboarding, right? The brands who sponsor you right now might not be there for you in a year. Either the brands could go out of business, or there could be somebody who at the team who doesn't like you anymore and they kick you off or something like that, right? You can't rely on a brand or a company to be there for you and fill out your career with all this stuff. That's worked for some people, but you can't count on it. So what I would try to do is build my own brand, not necessarily a product that I'm selling, like my own deck brand or something like that. I just mean like, who am I? And have people try to follow me, whether it be, having a channel on YouTube, which is probably something I would do, or having just people follow me on Instagram or something like that. I would try to have my own fan base outside of my brands that I'm on, and think of them as partners more than like my boss, I think that would be a big way to plan for that kind of thing, because you just never know what's going to happen. Next thing I would do is save as much as I can. Being pro, because you're talking about like what happens if you get really big. If you're a pro skater, you're not necessarily making huge money, but let's say that I was. I would definitely be setting a lot of it aside, because a professional athlete of any kind is not necessarily going to be a professional athlete 10 years from now. Maybe you can transition into something else, but what you want to do when you're making money is to save as much of it as you can. Put it in retirement accounts or investment accounts, have health insurance, have like all that kind of stuff. Talk to an accountant, get someone who actually knows what they're doing to help you manage your money. If you're 22 years old and you just turned pro and you're getting more money than you know what to do with, find someone who does know what to do with it and follow their advice. That would be something I would do. Now, like I'm old, I've got experience with that kind of stuff. I would be able to take care of myself at this point. But if you don't know what you're doing, find someone who does. And the next thing that I kind of mentioned is planning for your retirement or your transition out of pro skating. There are a lot of examples of this where somebody was big for a long time and now they are doing something else. They make graphics. They're a team manager or something like that at one of the companies that they work for. They do something else. So there are people who now they do all the ads, they do all the graphics, they do all the art, they do different kinds of stuff. Maybe they film, maybe they something else, right? What can you do when you're old and your joints don't work, or if you get hurt or something along those lines? You have a plan and you work toward it. So maybe you skate right now, but you're also teaching yourself something, right? You have some kind of backup plan going. So I would definitely do that. I would use my own personal brand to get people to be fans of me and not necessarily the brands that I'm associated with, and use that to build something up, and try to get myself in a position where I'm okay as soon as I'm forced to retire by being old or whatever the case may be. So that's what I think I would do. One of your other questions was, would I make appearances on the media? Me, personally, I don't think I would. I don't really enjoy that kind of stuff. I'm okay being on camera in my basement, but flying out and being on a show or something wouldn't really be my thing. I'm glad that Tony Hawk does that kind of stuff. It's good to have a skateboarding personality out there that people can ask about skateboarding topics if it's in the news or something, something like that, whatever. That's a good thing, but it wouldn't really be for me. But that's how I would handle being pro. If any of you are in that position, hopefully you learn something from that. Yeah, I don't know. That's just my thoughts on that. But if you have questions for this series, go to radratvideo.com. You can submit it right there on the homepage. There's a little form you can fill out, and I will try to answer that next time. Also, if you ask your question on Patreon, I will answer that question for sure, either directly to you or in a video if I can. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching.